This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so yesterday only one topic that we want to just now, as I said, we'll take as an example. So I've created the conditional metrics. So that's something that we're going to discuss as a first topic for today, and later we will discuss on the report service documents and dashboards. Okay, so now first of all, what is a conditional metric in MicroStrategy, right? So we have seen that we can create a metric in case, and we also know what is a filter. But in case I want to add a condition within the metric, okay. So what I'm trying to say is, now let's say you create a sum of revenue, and along with that you want to have a filter within the metric that is called as condition metric. So you will, one filter would be in the report, you can add it, which applies across all the reports. But in case you have any specific filter which needs to be applied only for that particular metric, you create a conditional metric. So what we can do over here is that you create a standalone filter, okay, the way that we have discussed earlier, and you just have to embed in the metric. So if you look over here, if I just created a simple revenue metric, and within that we have added a condition, which is something says, the first 6 months. So what I have done over here is you can create a standalone filter. So what I've done is I just created this simple filter which says Jan, Feb, March, April, May, and June. Okay, so this is a month of year in list: Jan, Feb, March, April, May, and June. This is just the 6 months. Okay, and what I did is I used this filter directly under the metric. So you go to the condition property and you can drag and drop. So if you look over here, if I just say clear, what you have to do is you just have to go to the location where you have created your filter. Okay, and you just have to double click. That's it. So that condition gets added. So this is the filter which is applicable only for this particular metric. So when I use this particular metric in my report, this metric will give me the data only for Jan till June. That's the definition of condition metric. But within that, I have certain advanced property. Okay, now let's just say that you have a condition which is used in a report, and at the same time you have a condition within the metric. How those report filter and metric needs to applied to get me the final data set. So when you go to the advanced, there are few things that you need to remember. The first thing is, forget about the embedding method for now. The first thing is remove related report filter elements. Now we will take this example. I have created one report which I will show you. Now this option, what it says is, in case you have any specific, you have a conditional metric based on certain attributes, and in case you have a report filter which is somewhere related to the condition that you have used in the metric, whether that should be considered or it has to be ignored. Okay, so that's a property. So for an example, we have taken a condition saying first 6 months: Jan, Feb, March, April, May, and June. Now if in report I have used a condition, say okay, year equal to 2015, my both the condition is based on time. The report filter says year in 2015, my metric condition says Jan till June. So when I use this property, MicroStrategy will understand whether that report filter, which is related, when I say related, it's a time based, both are time based, right? So when the related filters has to be considered or it has to be ignored. So when you have this checkbox selected, which says remove related filter elements, which means the report condition will not be considered. It will just give me the data for all the years start for the months Jan till June. But if I say no, you have to selector, like you have to consider it. You don't remove the related, you have to consider it. So what it does is it does the intersection, which means if my report filter is 2015, and if I say you have to consider the report filter, so my this metric will give me the data for year 2015 and all the months for Jan till June. Okay, so I created one metric where this property is selected as yes against the no. So if I go and show you that particular report, my filter is year in 2015, the report filter. The metric filter is Jan till June, and the property selected or deselected. So if you look at the first metric, which is revenue, okay, first of all, I'll show you the report filter which we have used. So report filter is year 2015. Okay, so the first metric, which is not a conditional metric, it's a standard normal metric. So this revenue measure, the one which I have highlighted, it's giving me the data for entire year 2015. So for all entire 2015 across the region, this is my revenue value. The second measure, which says remove related filter. When I say remove related filter, which means it is not considering 2015, because it's removing the related filters, right? My report filter is 2015, so it is ignoring the 2015, and this measure is giving me the data for Jan till June across all the years that is present in my warehouse. In my warehouse I have the data for 3 to 4 years, all the years for Jan till June. My numbers have been calculated, and that's the reason you can see the numbers are much higher. The third measure, where I say no, you don't remove the related filters, you have to consider. So what it does is it considers the year 2015. Within 2015, my Jan till June, the months have been considered, and you can see these are the values. So as you compare with the first one, which is also for 2015, but my numbers are much lesser than the entire year 2015. Why? Because it is only considering Jan till June. So when you have that checkbox, just make sure when you're creating a conditional metric, just make sure how it has to interact with your report filter. If there is any related filters, whether you want to consider or you don't want to consider. So that's a simple checkbox that is present. And you can see both the filters, like both the metrics are same. It's the only difference is of the checkbox. In one filter, we are considering the report filter. In the other metric, we are not considering the report filter to be evaluated, and that's the reason you can see the numbers have been different. This is the first property when you're trying to create any conditional metric. Before we discuss the other options, any questions so far? Is it clear?
So like if they are in the same hierarchy, then only it will affect, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes,
month and year
related.
are in
Yep.
the same hierarchy, but like if I choose for the production hierarchy, then it won't affect, right?
Yeah, that isn't applicable. It's not applicable there. It's only the related filters. That's it. So when I say related, it has to be related. So if I have a, as you said, right, in my report, if I have a condition saying product, and in my metric it is having a time, then it doesn't make sense. Either you select or you deselect the checkbox, the values will not be different.
Okay, thanks.
All right, no problem. Now this was the first case. When you create a conditional metric, this is something that you need to remember. The second thing that you need to remember is, now let me open that same metric. I have a different example, but let me just first show you that option. Now when you go to the condition, and if you go to the advanced, this is okay. Now remember the option setting is, that's something your default option that remembers every time. If you look over here, there is something called as embedding method. And as I was saying yesterday, right, there are three options. In case you're using a report filter and a metric filter, irrespective whether they are related or not related, doesn't matter. This is an embedding method. When I say embedding method, which one needs to be a priority? Okay, so there are three options over here. The first option say, I'll come to the first option later. The second option says merge report filter into metric, which means my report filter will be evaluated first, and within that, after that, my metric condition will be evaluated. So for an example, let me take a notepad. If my report filter is equal to top 50 customers, okay, and my metric filter is top 10 items. So when I say merge report filter into metric, what it will do is The first priority is to get top 10 customers, because the first is we are saying I have to evaluate first report filter. So the result set, what it will first do is first it will calculate the top 50 customers. Then it says merge into metric, which means thereafter for those 50 customers, what are my top 10 items that will be considered. So first I'm trying to get me the 15 customers, and for those 50 customers, what they have bought the top 10 items. That's how the condition got evaluated. Okay, so this is an embedding method, as I said, sets, right? So first I have considering the top 50 customers, and within those 50 customers only, what they have bought the top 10 items. That's the first option, merge report filter into metric. Then the next option that we have is merge metric condition into report, the other way around. So what it does is first it will evaluate top 10 items. Okay, and for those items, who are my top 50 customers? So first the condition will be evaluated as, okay, you get me the list of top 10 items. Okay, my metric condition got evaluated first. Thereafter you merge with the report filter, which means for those 10 items, which are my top 50 customers, and based on that the numbers will be calculated. That's the second thing. The third says merge into new, which means my both the conditions will be evaluated independently. You get me the top 10 customers, top 50 customers, you get me the top 10 items, and the intersection of both will be my final set. It's merged to new, which means you evaluate the conditions independently, and whatever the intersection that you have, based on that you give me the numbers. By looking at the same example, I have created the reports, and you will see every three property metrics, every three condition metrics with three different properties are going to give me different result set. So it all depends what is your requirement, and based on that you give your conditional preferences. So if you look over here, I'm going to just cancel all these things. I'll go to the report, and I just created a simple report. I need to see the revenue across all the months. Okay, I've just used a month of year. Across this month of year, I want to see a different conditional metric properties. So my report filter is top 50 customers. That's my report filter, and each of this metric has a filter condition top 10 items. If I show you this, I just edit it quickly. Okay, so you can see there is a condition called top 10 items. The only difference between each of these three metrics is I have selected different embedding method. That's it, all three embedding methods. So the first one says revenue filter into metric filter. So first report filter, not revenue filter, I'm sorry. So report filter into metric filter, which means it will first calculate the top 50 customers, and for those 50 customers, what is my top 10 items? The second says metric filter into report filter. So first it will evaluate top 10 items, and for those top 10 items, which are my top 50 customers. Third is embedding. I have evaluated top 10 customers. I have evaluated top 10 items and evaluated top 50 customers, and the intersection of both will give me the final results. So when I run this report, you will see each of the three metrics is giving me different numbers. Definitely, right? Because the way that we have given the embedding method, based on that, it is driving me the final result set. So as you can see, none of the metrics are giving me the same numbers. Somewhere it might be close, that's just a coincidence, but you will see that nothing is exactly the same. Definitely there is some or the other variances that you will see. So these are the three options that you need to just ensure whenever you create a condition matrix, and at the same time you even have a report filter. Okay, I'll just take a pause. Does this make sense, guys? Any question over here? No? Perfect. So this was the first thing. Just give me a second.
Banish, your voice is coming distorted. I don't know whether it's for only me or for everyone.
Sorry. All right. So yeah. So this is what we wanted to first discuss. Like, okay, in case whenever I'm creating a conditional metric, how it has to get evaluated. First, we need to understand what should be my whether I have to consider anything related report filters or not. And second, in case I want to evaluate the different the intersection methods, that's where the embedding method will come into picture. Any question over here, guys?
Banish, Smita
Yes, please.
here.
Yep.
No, I don't have any question, but sometimes your voice is completely getting mute.
My voice is sorry.
Your voice is sometimes getting completely mute. That's I'm not able to hear you properly.
Is it? I mean, is it for every one of you guys?
Yes, it breaks here and there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just give me a second. Let me check my connection. 1 second.
Sure.
1 second. Okay, I've just changed the connection. Just let me know if the issue still exists. Okay. I know there was some power cut over here. Maybe I don't know what's gone wrong, but just let me know if the issue still exists for you guys. Okay.
It's better.
Sure.
Okay.
And yeah, now it's better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But in case later, even if it breaks, just let me know. Uh, I don't know. I'll just switch to some other network. Though this is not that reliable, to be honest. The one which I was using previously is it has a higher bandwidth, but yeah, let's see. Okay. So this was about the conditional
And
metric. Yes, please.
Banish, regarding yesterday visualization, right? So I have to
Mm-hmm.
download MicroStrategy analytics platform, right?
Microstrategy Analytics Desktop.
Desktop or platform, because
No,
I
no,
search
desktop.
for a desktop.
So you want to share your screen? I can show you.
Okay.
I can make. Yeah. Let me just make you a presenter. 1 second.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're a presenter now. If you want, you can just share your screen. Yeah, I can see it.
Are you able?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
So this is a 30-day trial full. No, no, not this one. Can you just go back to the yeah, no, go back to that page only. There is something called as get started. Yeah, yeah, go yeah, on the top. Can you just click on get started?
Just 1 second.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So recently, these guys have the MicroStrategy has up, like just change the
This one, get started.
on the stop. Yeah, click on that. Because the one that you're installing is the enterprise platform.
Okay.
Just give me a second, I'll be back. Just give me a second.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I just got into some. Yeah. So can you just click on start now on the right hand side top? Yeah. Just sign in. There was some activation code that you would have received. Yeah, click on
Like,
cancel. No, just cancel. Okay, one second.
okay.
It says start a project, connect with us. Okay. Mm, I don't know. I mean, like, I think the site just got upgraded. Uh, just a second. Cancel this. Uh, just 1 second. Let me just do it from my end as well. 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, I got it. Download this. Let me just ping you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to ping on the chat screen. Okay. Yeah, this is the one. Can you just access this link?
Okay.
Okay. Download desktop. You can see on the top right, there's a link. Yeah.
But it's saying enterprise, right?
No, this is not an enterprise. That's an intelligent enterprise. Okay. But this is just the desktop. If you click over here,
Okay.
desktop for whatever it is, Windows or Mac, your machine. Yeah, and it got started. Okay. So this is around 1.3 gigs. And if you look at your enterprise, that is around 7 gigs.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just going 20 minutes. Here it's saying like 2 hours.
Yeah. So that is your latest. I think you would have even received your license key. That is your latest enterprise platform, the one that we saw, developer tool and web and all those part, right? That's a 30-day trial. Desktop is completely free.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay. Can I take my screen share back?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
At the end of session, can we try like how to install this? Because like it will take 30 minutes, around 20 to 30 minutes. And after that?
The desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's we can do that. It's just a simple setup file. Nothing that you have to select. There would be no options. Nothing. You double click, your setup will be started. That's as simple as it is. I mean, in enterprise we had a different options, right? Over here we don't have it. It's just a simple exe file and your desktop will be installed. So you can do it. And in case there is anything, we can discuss in this call itself. That should be okay.
Sure. Thanks.
All right, no problem. Okay, so the next thing that we want to just give me a second. Okay, so the next thing that we want to discuss is about the report service documents and dashboards. So yesterday we saw about the dossiers, right? The analytics dashboard. The report service documents and dashboards are more, I think I would say, something it's not that comparatively simple as what we saw in the desktop. Over here we have to place each and every object in such a way that the report looks good. So you have a lot of other formatting properties, the charts and the grids formats and so on. Okay, so when I say report service documents and dashboard, the only difference is that the documents comes with a predefined sections. Like as you see in the Word document, you have a header, body, footer, whereas the dashboard is just a body. That's it. From the from the development standpoint and the functionality standpoint, both are same. It's just that it comes with a predefined section. So when you say create new, you have to say create new document, and under that you will see two templates. Either I can select a blank document or you can select a blank dashboard. So if I go to the blank document, you will see some predefined sections, header, footers, bodies, and so on. So whatever element or whatever object that you want to place within those sections, you can do it. Okay, so we'll just wait for that. Okay, I'm not going to select any data set as of now. Okay, so as you can see over here, it has some predefined sections. So you can see page header, document header, detail footer, and so on. Okay, and if I at the same time, if I just create a blank dashboard, it will just have a body section, nothing. You will not see a different sections under it. That's the only difference. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will show you that as well. If I right click, okay, and say create new document, and if I just select a dashboard over here, the blank dashboard, you can see just some body section. There would be no different sections like page header, page footer, and so on. That's the only difference. Okay, so we'll continue with this. Now, similar to the visual insight over here, the first thing is that you need to add the data sets. But within the report service documents and dashboard, it does not have a flexibility to connect to the external data set. Whatever is present within your project, only you can connect to those reports or intelligent cubes. So if you click on add data set over here, you can see it just links me, or it just navigates to me within the project. And over here I can either select the reports, or I have to select the cubes, which would be part as of my data set within the dashboards. So whenever you want to create a report service document or dashboard, you have to first, that's a prerequisite, you need to have your reports or cubes created, which can act as a data set. So what I'm going to do over here is we will select the intelligent cube based reports which we had created, or I will just use the intelligent cube directly. So as soon as I select the cube, you can see all the objects are available. And within this, I can select or I can add any objects, and it will be displayed in my dashboard. There are certain similar things that you can do over here as compared to what we have seen in the visual insights or dossiers. Okay, so over here I can add the grids, I can add the images, text boxes, and so on. The same thing that you can do it over here. So now let's say I'll start with a simple thing. I'll click on insert, and I will add, let's say, a grid. I want to enter a grid. So over here I have to select where exactly that grid needs to be displayed, and that's the reason we say this is kind of a more time consuming comparatively, yes, but we have to ensure where exactly which object has to be placed. So now I have inserted a grid, and over here, let's say I want to see the data for category from this data set. Within category, I want to see the data for region, and within that I will add a year in the column, and I want to see the data for revenue in the top. Okay, now this is one simple grid that I have added. Now within this, I will also try to insert, let's say, text boxes. I want to insert a text box. So what I'm going to do is, okay, I just go to the insert. There is a text, and I will select a text box. And I'm just going to say this is normal. I will just say dashboard. Okay, and in case I want to change the formatting over here, just click on the property list. So you select the corresponding object and go to the property list on the left hand side. So now let's say I want to change the property for this particular text box. Okay, so I want to first change the back color. I'm just selecting random colors. Okay, so I want to just make it as blue. I want to change the font color. Okay, so I will just say it as white, and I want to change the font property. I will make it bold, and we will increase the font size as well. Let's say 22, and I will say bold, yes. And if I say okay, you can see the font properties has been changed as well. Now let me save this dashboard. We'll just give the name as dashboard. So if you look at the difference over here, I can create this kind of a dashboards from a developer tool. The visual insights or the dossier is something you cannot create from here. You have to go to the web and create it. So once you create the documents from here, you can definitely go to the web. Okay, just trying to log in. Just take few seconds. As you can, it's still getting loaded. Just click over here again. Okay. Okay. And let's go to the shared reports. Training. And we'll run the dashboard that we just created it. Okay. All right, so as you can see, this is the dashboard that we created. Now we have to play around with this from the formatting standpoint, like what should be the font size, the color, auto style, everything that you can adjust over here. So we just added a simple text box, and we added this grid, and you can see that has been displayed over here. Okay, now if I go back to the dashboard, all right, and now over here you can do all the things that we have seen in the analytics dashboard. You can add the slicers, you can just add the navigations and so on. Now let's say, as you can see over here, along with this, there are a few other things that you can do it within this particular specific dashboard. Okay, now let's say I have just added a text over here. Okay, now along with this, I also wanted to add a slicer which allows me to select any, let's say, region. Okay, so there are 4 types of slices that you can add, okay, within this kind of a dashboard. So when you go to the insert and when you go to the slicer or a selector, okay, you can first select the format. Now there are 4, as I said, there are 4 types of slices that you can add, the 4 types of selector. The first is the attribute element selector. As the name suggests, it will allow me to select the attribute elements, and based on that, it is just going to filter it down. The second type of selector is the metric condition, which says on the fly, let allow the user to enter the condition, the metric conditionality, and according the report result cells will be displayed. The third is select a metric. Now let's say if my grid has 4 metrics, and at during a runtime, I just want to display 2 metrics. It's a metric selector. So whatever metrics that you select on the slicer, it will be displayed in the corresponding targeted grid. The fourth and the final is the panel selector. If you remember, yesterday we just created the panels. Similar concept over here, where you can add a panels, and between them also you can add the selector. So the next thing that we're going to discuss is about the selectors. So first I went to the insert, I go to the selector section, and then I need to select the format in which I want to display my selector. Let's say I want to go with the drop down, and I want to display just beside my text box. As of now, I have just selected the format. I have still not selected the type of my slicer. Okay, so I'll right click on that, go to the properties, I'll go to the selector, and under the action type you will see the 4 types. So there is an attribute element selector, select metric condition, select metric, select panel. The first thing that I want to do is simple attribute element selector. And on which attribute I need to have a selector? I need to have it on region. So I will say okay. And you can see my target is by default selected the only grid. I'll keep that as it is. I'll click on OK. I'm going to save this. Okay. And we will go to the dashboard and refresh the page. So now as you can see, and selector has been added. So now let's say I want to see the data only for South region. So I selected the South, and as you can see within the grid over here, within the grid used in the dashboard, it is showing me the data only for South. So the attribute element selected is, and this is happening once your report has been executed or dashboard has been executed. So any user has a functionality, they can just, on the fly, they can select the elements and analyze the data. If someone wants to just say, okay, I want to see the data for Northeast as well, you just click on Northeast, and now depending upon the type of slicer, this will allow you to single select, multi select. Now I have given the option as drop down. Similarly, I can give it as a check boxes as well for multiple selection, that all properties are available. And in case you want to change that, just right click on the slicer, go to the property. Okay, I will go to the selector, and now let's say instead of drop down, I'll just make it as check boxes. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, this is okay, this is okay, and I'll just make it a, because it's a check boxes, right? Okay, I'm just going to increase the size of the slicer. I'll say save, and if I refresh my dashboard, so now the checkboxes are available. So along with Northeast, if I want to see the data for Mid-Atlantic as well, as you can see, Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. So all these options are available. So the way that you want to format it, it's something that you just have to go to the properties and make the options. All right, so this is the first selector that we have just discussed. It's about the attribute element selector. Now let's say if I select all over here, okay, and within this you can see there is a scroll bar. I have to analyze the entire data and so on, but I want to see only those numbers where revenue is greater than 1 million. Now this is my personal choice. So I can also give a flexibility to the user where they can add a condition on the fly once the dashboard is executed. So what I can do is I can make a use of a second selector, which is a metric condition. So again, I will go to the insert, I'll go to the select, and this time I'm going to say metric qualification, and I'm going to just add it below this. Okay, I'll go to the properties, right click and go to the properties. And if under the selector, this time you can see automatically the second option is selected, which says metric condition. Now on what metric you want to apply that condition? So I can say I want to do it on revenue. You just have to click on OK, save this. I'll come back to the dashboard, refresh it, and you will see a metric condition box would have been added. Now this is something I want to see the data only where the revenue is greater than 1 million. If I just click on the tick mark, you will see that the entire data set has been sliced, and it is showing me the data only where the revenue is greater than 1 million. Now this filters also works in tandem. So now let's say I want to see the data only within central and where my revenue is greater than 1 million. You can see only for the central where revenue is greater than 1 million. Similarly, within the central, let's say I want to see the data for less than, let's say 500,000. And if I say yes, okay, so these are the central regions and the corresponding categories where revenue is less than $500,000. Okay, so every selectors that you have added definitely works in much more interactive way. So as of now, we have discussed on two selectors. One was the attribute element and second was the metric condition. The third is, let me just finish this selector topic and then I'm going to take a pause. The third is, I want to also have a metric selectors. So let me go back to the dashboard and I'm just going to add a new tab. This is my first tab. I'm going to add a one more tab. Click on plus icon. Okay. And within this, again, I'm going to say insert grid. Okay. I'm just going to add a region and multiple metrics. Okay. So I'm just going to add a region, average revenue, discount, gross revenue, profit, and revenue, all this 4 to 5 metrics. Now I want to give an option to the user. I can even change the auto style. Okay, I can just say auto style. I want to select some random. Okay, and now let's see over here. On top of this, I want to give a selector where the user can select any metrics they want to compare it. So I'm going to say insert a selector, and this time I'm going to say, let's say a checkboxes, but on horizontal. Okay, and I'll just right click, go to properties, and under selector I'm selecting a select metric option. I'll just click on OK. I'm going to save this. If I go and refresh my dashboard, okay, now if I just select all, okay, I think something just went wrong. 1 second, let me just refresh it. Okay, my average revenue is something incorrect maybe, so I'm just going to remove this. Let me just add something else. I need to check my metric, that's okay, but I'll remove this average revenue, and instead of that I will just add cost, so at least I can check the data. Okay, I'm just going to remove this average revenue. Okay, I'm going to save this and let's go ahead and refresh the dashboard. Okay, so now as you can see, all the metrics are available because all has been selected, and now the user has an option as to which metric they want to compare. I don't want to see all the metric, and instead I just want to see cost, and let's say I want to see discount. This is my personal selection, and I want to compare only the data for cost and discount. So I want to see it side by side, and you can see the numbers have been displayed. So this is a metric selector. So the user has an option where they can select any metric, and now let's say you have created a line chart, and on top of that I have a revenue, and the second is just a metric selector. You can do that. Okay, so I can have one metric selector which will just allow me to change the metrics that gets added in my report dynamically. Okay, so this is the third selector. The fourth and the final selector is the panel selector. Now, first of all, understand what is panel and the panel selector. Now, when you open a PDF, okay, you will see a different bookmark. Like if you go to the table content, you will see different contents over there and the page numbers. And if you click on that, it directly directs you to that page number. Panel is similar to a book, which will have multiple panel stacks. Sorry, a panel stack is a collection of panels. So you can say that panel stack is a book, and the panels within that is pages. So panel stack. So when you want to play around with the panels, the first thing that you need to do is you need to insert a panel stack. So panel stack is nothing but just a collection of panel. It can have 10 panels, it can have 100 panels. There are no limits as such. So we will add a panel stack, and within that, let's say we add 3 panels. Now, how I can allow the user to switch between the panels, to navigate between the panels? For that, you have a selector called as panel selector. So there are 2 things that we need to consider. First, we need to add a panel stack and panels, and on top of that, we need to add a selector for that. So if I again I'll just add a new tab. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is we need to add a panel stack. Click on insert, and there is an option called as panel stack. So I will add a panel stack over here. Okay, by default my one panel is added, and if I just right click over here, go to the panels and say manage, you can keep on adding as many numbers of panels that you need. So for this example, we have added 3 panels. Now every panels will have a name, so you can just give us some random name. Let's say first, second, and third. Now remember one thing, whatever the panel name that you give, by that name it will be displayed in the selector. So you give some rational name which you want to, or a logical name which you want to display under the selector as well. Okay, so I'm just going to click on OK. So as of now we have 3 panels. From development standpoint, you can do everything within the panel as what you have seen. You can insert the grids, text, images, links, anything that you want to do it. Okay, so now let's say this is my first panel. As you can see the name over here, I'm just going to add something random. Okay, so let's say I will just insert a simple grid first. Okay, and I'm just going to add, let's say, region again and discount. I'm just adding something random. Okay, and just to make sure that this grid is within the panel only, when you move this, you can see a amber color border that confirms. You can see proper border within the panel. So this confirms that you are trying to insert only within this panel. If you move this outside, the orange color border will be displayed in the report section. As soon as you move it under that, you will see an orange border which is around the panel. So this confirms where exactly you're placing your grid. So let's say I want to just add it over here. So we have inserted under the first panel. Now if you want to move to the second panel, from the development standpoint, right click, panels, I will say display next. So this allows me to go to the second panel, and over here also I can do anything that I want. Let's say I just want to insert a text field. See, now I'm just taking a random examples. Okay, now this I'm saying this is my panel navigation, simple thing. Okay, and I just want to make sure that this is within the panels. Yes, I'll go to the third tab or third panel. I'll say display next, and within this, let's say I first add a grid on a region, and let's say revenue, and along with this I want to add a element slicer as well. I can do that, the attribute element slicer within the panel. Okay, so I'll just increase the size. I'll say insert and selector, drop down. Okay, okay, right click, properties, under the selector I just have a slicer on region. I'm going to say okay, and that's it. So every panel has a different content, different kind of data and so on. Okay, I'm just going to say display previous and display previous. Now how user can navigate when they execute the dashboard, correct? For that you need a slicer or a selector. We call it as fourth selector, which is a panel selector. I click on insert, I go to the selector. Let's say this time I will have a radio button. Okay, right click, go to properties, under the selector I will have a select panel. I'm going to say okay. I'm going to save this, and now if I go ahead and refresh my dashboard, and now you can see it allows me to navigate between the panels. So this is my first panel. If I go to the second, it will display that text box. If I go to the third panel, you can see there's a slicer and the grid that we had added. So like it allows you a simple and very efficient navigation across the panels as well. Okay, so there are 4 types of selectors that you can add within this kind of a dashboard, and we have an attribute element, metric condition, and panel selector. I'll take a pause over here. Any questions so far?
Vanish.
Mm-hmm.
Here we don't have any option like or something like on this particular window, right? The report which we are seeing right now.
We don't have an option of, sorry.
Export data or something.
Yeah, you just right click over here and there is an option to export Excel, PDF, HTML.
Okay. And if I want to just specifically transfer the grid data.
Just you want to export this data?
Yeah, grid data. Yeah, whatever displayed in a grid.
One second. That is something. I don't know. I'm not so sure whether that allows you to do it when you do it. I think there are some properties which. One second. Now this is. Let me just change the mode. One second. I'll just run it as an editable mode. Okay, and if I just right click over here and there should be an export option. One second. No, one second. There should be somewhere over here. Yeah, this is the one. But I'm not sure if it just allows you to do it for the dedicated. Does it for the entire dashboard? But I don't think so. There is an option where you can do it for the individual grid as such, because that's a dashboard that you have created, right? Let me do one thing. Let me just select. No, document, right? So yeah, I don't think there is an individual option that you can do it as such. At least that nothing that I can see over here. It does it for the entire dashboard for sure, but not for an individual grid as such.
And one more question, right? Sometimes when we run the report, right, like I see on the product, when I ran the report, sometimes it's open in this format right now, the window which you shown, and sometimes it's show in a editable mode. So like
That's a default, yeah. So that's a default mode that you need to set it up, right? So if you go to the document properties, okay, and there is an option by which you want to open it by default. So as of now, you can see my run by default is a presentation mode, and you can just change it to the way that you want to have it. So that's the second thing that I wanted to discuss. But yeah, as you have brought up, right? So you can see by default, you have to see like what mode that you want to run. I can have it as a presentation mode or a flash mode, interactive, editable, or directly export. So when the user clicks on that dashboard, automatically it will just execute and export it to a certain format. Okay, so when you go to your project and you see any dashboards running in a different formats, you just edit the document and you can see what is the default format that has been set it up.
So from where you went, from the data, right? Or
Just
format?
yeah, just go to format and there is a document properties, and under the document properties you will see the default mode that you want to set it up. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have just discussed about the slices. Now if I go back to the layout one, now there is this text over here, and let's say I want to add some links. Okay, now the link could be anything. Either it would be a static URL, or it has to open any of my existing report or a dashboard. That can be done. So just right click on the text box and there is an option called as edit links. Now when you click on the edit links, as I said, it allows me to navigate to a specific URL or I can even navigate to any of my existing reports or the dashboards. So now let's see over here, if I just say google.com and I want to make sure that it opens up in a new window. So I have checked this box. I'll say okay, save this. And when I refresh my dashboard over here, okay, now you can see there is a link that is added. And if you click on this link, it opens a new tab and it just opens the google.com. Similarly, like, in case you want to add some company information, your organization information and so on, you can add a link. Similarly, I can also change this link to open any of my existing reports. Same way, right click, go to the edit links option, and instead of saying navigate to URL, I'm going to say run this report or a document and select that corresponding report. So now let's say I'm just going to pick up some random report. Okay, let's say this one, and I'm just going to say okay, save this. And now when I refresh my dashboard, okay, and now if I click on this link, you can see it has navigated to the report that we have linked to, and that report is going to get execute and show me the data. So we had linked it with the advanced metric report, and as you can clearly see, that corresponding report has been displayed over here. Okay, so even when you have a text boxes, you can create a hyperlinks basically to any of the URLs or any existing reports. Same thing, you can do it from the report as well. Okay, now let's say this is my report, or let me go back to the developer tool. Okay, let me just go to the layout one, and let's say I'm going to change this report. Okay, something, I'll remove this category. I'm going to remove the year as well. Simple region wise revenue. Yeah. Okay, now I want to link this to some other report, but along with that I want to pass a region which I have selected from this master report. So I have another prompted report, which is there is a prompt on region, and the answer to that report, the prompt within that report, needs to be driven based on the selection that I do from here. So let's see, you can just say I have a requirement where I want to create a summary report, and from that I want to drill into a detailed report, but the element which I select from the summary report needs to pass on as a prompt answer. You can do that. So what I'm going to do is we will quickly create one report which will have a prompt on region. Okay, so I'll say create new report. I'm going to add a region over here. I'm going to add a prompt on region as well directly. I will just say prompt. I will say finish. Okay, so this is just a prompt on region. You can create a standalone prompt as well. That's okay. And along with this, I'm going to add some few more objects. So along a region, let's say I want to add a year, and let's say category, and over here I'm going to add a revenue and other metrics as well. Let's say gross revenue and revenue. Okay, now this is my prompted report, which is having a prompt on region. I'm going to save this. I'm going to give the name as linked report. Now if I go back to my dashboard, okay, from this grid within this dashboard, first I want to open that link report, and when I open that link report, it has to answer the prompt based on the selection that I do over here. So what you need to do is just select the grid, right click on over here on the region, and there is an option called as edit links. I'll come over here, and as you can see, it allows me to create a link only to the existing report or dashboard. You cannot link from here to any URL as such. That can be done from the text boxes and the other objects, but not within the grid. So I can link it to my any existing report or a dashboard. I'll click over here and I'm going to link this to the new report which we have just created. Now, as you can see, it shows me, okay, there is a prompt that is present in the link report. How you want to answer that prompt? By default, it says answer dynamically, which means whatever element that you have selected from the grid, that is going to be the answer. Answer dynamically means you select the element from the master dashboard, that's going to pass as the prompt answer. There are other options as well that we'll come and discuss later, but as of now, we will say answer dynamically. I would say, okay, save this dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and refresh my dashboard. Sorry, something went wrong. I'm going to refresh my dashboard. So now I have a region revenue. Let's say if I just selected Northeast, as you can see, it has opened one more tab. The link report got executed and the region is equal to Northeast got passed. You can see that link report is showing me the data only for Northeast. Similarly, if someone select, let's say South, same report will be executed, but this time it will show me the data only for region South. So even this kind of a linking is present in such kind of a dashboards, which is something which you cannot do it easily in the Dossiers or the visual insights. Okay. Now, what are the other properties that we saw? We, as of now, we just said answer dynamically, which means whatever element you select, that gets passed as your answer to the prompt. But now if I just go to the edit links, the other options that we have is prompt the user, which means even if I'm selecting a certain element at a runtime, it's still going to prompt me again. The link report which has a prompt still going to prompt me and let the user select. So it's just that you have created the link, but the answer of prompt will not happen. Okay. So if I click on OK, save my dashboard, I'll close these tabs to avoid any confusion. Refresh my dashboard. And this time, let's say if I click on Northwest, the same link report will be open, but now you can see it has prompted me. The region prompt didn't got answered automatically because that was the option which we selected, prompt the user. And even though I have clicked on Northeast, but over here, if I select Mid-Atlantic and if I say run the report is going to show me the data only for Mid-Atlantic. So the navigation happened, the link happened, but the prompt didn't got answered automatically. Similarly, now let's say I have a requirement where I want to give a default answer to that report, the prompted report. So just right click and say edit links. And this time I would say answer with a static element list. Answer with an empty answer means it will not answer the prompt, it will directly run the report. Static element list is I can answer the prompt right away over here, irrespective of whatever element I select. If I give the prompt answer, let's say as Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, okay, so whatever region element I select from the master dashboard, it will open up the prompted report with the answer on Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Okay, let's see. If I click on OK, save it, and if I refresh my dashboard over here, so I will select on Central. Okay, I've clicked on Central. It opened up the link report, no prompted, but the answer was Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. So there are different options, and it completely depends upon case to case as to how your link report, which is a prompted, how you want to answer those prompts. Generally, you will always keep it as answered dynamically, which makes more sense from the user standpoint, and that's a general requirement. But still, we have certain options which I think we should be aware of. I'll take a pause. Any questions so far, guys? No? Perfect.
So,
So we have all. Yes, please go ahead.
sorry to take you back. So, you know, can you just give me, I know you covered the Dossier report yesterday, so can you give me just a quick recap between what can be done in the Dossier, dashboard, and then what cannot be done, so that I take note of it.
So you need a comparison between the dashboards, like the one that we discussed yesterday and the one that we are doing it today.
Yes,
Is that your question?
what can be
Okay.
done? Yes, what can be done, and
See,
then what cannot be? Yes.
see, analytics dashboard. Okay, it's a pure visualization where you do not need any platform. Okay, you just create the dashboard. You link it with any external databases or within your enterprise platform, and it's a
Okay.
once you created that connection to the data set, you select the visuals, drag and drop the objects, and your dashboard is ready. There are a few things that you can do over there where you can add the filters, you can do the interactivity and bit of navigation. That's it. But the dashboard creation is very fast. Correct? You can add more visuals from the third party charts which I have shown you yesterday, right? The Vitara charts and all. So there are a lot of it's a pure visualization feeling that you will get, and this is something which is to keep MicroStrategy in market as per the other free tools which are available like Power BI Desktop, or there is a Tableau Desktop which is not free, but yeah. So that doesn't requires any server. Okay, when the one
Okay.
that we created Dossier, right, and the one installation which we just shown a few minutes back, which is around 1.6 gigs, that doesn't require a server. It is just a pure visualization component, but within the enterprise platform also that is available for you or all of us, where we can create that kind of a visual appealing dashboards. Okay, but
Yes.
the one that we are discussing over here is a report service document. It's a more robust dashboard that you can create. You can make it as visually appealing that you have it in the visual insight, but it has a lot of other functionalities and options that you can embed over here, like creating a
Okay.
links to the dashboards, and there is also something called as widgets, which I'm just going to discuss next thing. There are other types of format in which you can display. That's the next topic that we can discuss, and those are not available in desktop, right? And this is something, it's an enterprise you create for one, accessible by all the users, 2000 5000 users to which you cater it. And yeah, so this is a basic difference. But over here there's a lot of time that you have to spend to make it more pixel perfect dashboard. Visual insights and dossiers are very simple, and any user can do any kind of an ad hoc analysis, create the dashboards for the meeting and showcase as a presentation. But this kind of a
Okay.
dashboard needs to be a pixel perfect, which can handle any volume of the data. Okay, you create the base reports or a cubes which is going to be your data sets, and you create the dashboards for that. This can be scheduled and can be done everything. It can be scheduled, it can be exported and save it under some locations and so on. All those things can be done for these dashboards.
Okay.
Right, perfect.
And this is um the the link that we sent for the installation, right? Some few minutes ago.
That's for the dossiers, just the analytics desktop, and you can create the dossiers using that tool.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
All right, yes please.
Manish, can you go back to a developer tool?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, right here. So here we use a grid, right, to pass region on the linked report. So similarly, can we use a graph as well
Yeah,
instead of grid?
so now yeah, so in this is a grid, and in case you just want to change, so what you have to do is you do it in the grid. Okay, and you just right click over here and change the view mode to the graph. So even on the graph, when you click on that region, it will be linked. Now there are some DLL issues, so when I change to the graph view, it throws me an error. Okay, I don't know, somehow it's working. Let me see that. It was giving me some error few days back, but let's see if this works, then I can show you that sample as well. Okay, it's working. All right, and now this is Okay, 1 second. Let me just run it in a flash mode. One second. I don't know. I just don't have a flash component. I don't know. Let me just check. Refresh. Okay. Just now 1 second. Doesn't allows me to create. Why this is not working? I need to check on that. Like there is a link. Okay, over here it is. And if I click on link 1, sorry, it's there. And why didn't it open? There is a link, but something is not working. It definitely allows me to. Let me just open up Chrome maybe 1 second. Because it definitely works for sure.
But when you click from the grid, not showing any link or something, right? We just have to click
Yeah, that
on
case in
some
yep.
element.
Okay, I think because it does not has a flash component. 1 second. I need to install this flash component. I can show maybe just because of my browser issues or something. Or let me do one thing. We go to the interact presentation mode. Yeah, so over here it's working. So as you can see, when I click on a specific mid-Atlantic, now that corresponding dashboard, because the option that we have selected is
Static.
is that to default answer. Yeah, but that definitely works. But I think in Flash it does it automatically. I don't have a Flash component, but yeah, I don't know. There was some issue with my Internet Explorer. Maybe the something blocking would happen. I don't know. But when I run it from the Chrome, it is working absolutely fine. So it definitely works, I would say.
Can you right now whatever in the screen, right? Can you go back arrow, right? Can you click on that arrow?
This one?
Not that. Above one arrow.
Above one? Okay. No, I don't know. It doesn't work over here. So what you have to do is you have to click on this one, this back. But this is your browser settings, which will hold it. But if you click over here, this is something which will allow you to dashboard thing. So you don't click on the browser back in case you want to go back to your main report. As you can see, I have to click over here. So this has all the history, like how you do a navigation, and it will definitely you can go forward or backward.
Okay, can you click on that back? Like just few minutes before it's showing some related reports, right? So when sometimes I ran a particular report, so it's showing some related reports on the left hand side. So what is that meaning of?
This one over here in the drop down.
No, right? When you open that screen, right? So at that time it's showing some related report on the left hand side.
Okay, let me open the dashboard 1 second. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So this is
Here.
something just so this is just related reports in under which folder you are, and is there any other reports that you want to execute. But you can definitely close this. That's just a MicroStrategy that is offering, so you can just close it, so the next time it doesn't offers you. So if you go to a specific folder and you have just used that dashboard, and if there is any other reports within that folder and so on, so you can, it's just a shortcut present. You can navigate seamlessly instead of going back over here and searching for that report. So it just gives you a simple navigation, nothing else. It's nothing related to the
Okay. No, I
development that
thought
we have
like
done.
whatever. put the whatever the report which ran, right? So there are some related components or
No,
objects.
no,
That's the
no,
reason it's showing this.
no, nothing as such. Okay,
Thanks.
no problem. I'll just make this back to the grid. Okay, now next thing that I wanted to, don't know, there's something problem with my flash, or let's see what if that works or not. Okay, then the next thing that we want to discuss over here is something called as widgets. Now, as of now, we have seen a simple format where we can display in a grid or a graph. But there are other formats in which you can represent your data as well. I want to display something called as bubble chart, cloud, cloud map you have heard about, right? All those things can be done as well. But the only prerequisite is that every widget needs a predefined set of attributes and metrics so that it can display in that particular format. Okay, so what I'm trying to say over here is, let's say I'm just going to insert a grid. Okay, I'll just make it short. Okay, and over here, let's say I want to have a data for so the general question comes in Dossier I was to select a lot of visuals. What if I want to have it in the enterprise dashboards as well? Yes, it is possible. So if you go, let's say I add a region, and within region, let's say I add a year, I add a profit, and I add a revenue. Now remember yesterday we created a heat map, 2 attributes, 2 metrics. I want to display this in a heat map format. Just click over here once, go to the property list, and there is an option called as widget. You just have to select the widget in which you want to display it. That's it. Now let's say I want to display this as a heat map. I'll click on the heat map. I will save this dashboard. And if I go back and refresh it, layout 4, okay, just getting loaded. As you can see, a heat map has been displayed. So there are a lot of things that you can do over here. It's nothing that, every visual insight dashboard will always be your visually appealing. Now you can see I just added these objects in the developer tool. It is still a grid format, but just by changing the widget, you can see now it has displayed in a proper heat map, the similar what we did yesterday, right? So I have the boxes, I have the regions, the boxes indicates me profit, the color indicates me revenue, and so on. And in case I want to change the color, you can just right click, go to the properties, and there are options that you can change the format as well, right? So a lot of options that you can do it over here, and accordingly it's just going to be displayed. One second, if I just want to change the color, there was an option. One second, why it's not showing me over here? No, there was an option, I remember. Let me just cross check on this, because I think there's some problem with my browser, it seems, or I don't know, because I can definitely, I know that I can change the color as well instead of going with no. Let me just cross check. I think there's some problem, it seems, but it definitely has an option where you can change it on the fly over here. I cannot run it from the, one second, let me just do one thing. I can circle back on this. Maybe I don't know why it's not allowing me to change the color, because there is an option where you can change the color as well. I'm quite 100% sure, but for some reason I don't know, it's not working over here. All right. And I think there was one question, I think someone asked me, right, in case I want to just export a specific. So if you run a dashboard in the Flash format, and if you just come over here, there is an option where you can export it to Excel or PDF. That's something I just got missed. Okay, so when you run it from the Flash format, and if you just click on this icons, it will only export this format. So if I click on this PDF, let's say, okay, so it will export that particular visual only, and it will get export into a PDF format. Let's see if that, I don't know, something is wrong with my, let me do it in the Excel maybe. But yeah, this is the option that you can do it. Okay, I'll just open the Excel one second.
Panish,
Mhm.
the last call, right? So we downloaded our which dossier, right, in a .mstr file. So these also
Yes.
can we export to a
No, no,
.mstr?
no. No. Only the Dossier is .mstr. This cannot be exported to any format which you can deploy in anywhere. So in order to deploy, you have to open a request with your admin, and through Object Manager, you can execute or you can migrate your dashboards. This doesn't get exported to mstr. This gets exported to a certain format, Excel, PDF, Word, and all those formats, but not a perfect like dashboard format. It cannot be done.
Okay.
Okay. So as you can see, there is an export option where you can just Excel, PDF, HTML, and so on. That's it. Okay, so this is one thing. Now let's say if I go back over here, and if I let's discuss more on the widget, right? And over here, let's say I remove the year, and I'll remove the profit as well. Okay, and I want to display this in a different widget. Let's say data cloud. Okay, I'm going to save this, and if I refresh my dashboard, just click on refresh. As you can see, the same now different report has a different kind of format. So earlier we displayed in a hit map. Now it is displaying in a data cloud. Let me see why it's not allowing me to change the colors. Okay, over here it somehow it came. Maybe I just will check back on that. So now let's say this is a font color. So every color, as soon as the element changes, the font color changes, and the size is indicated by the revenue number. So as you can see, central is in blue, the other next region is mid-Atlantic, it is in orange, and so on. So the color just indicates a different type of elements alternately, and the size, the font size is indicating me the revenue. So I can easily say my northeast is having the highest revenue, whereas the northwest, as you can see, this icon, which is having a minimum revenue. This is a simple data cloud widget. So even this dashboards can be more visually appealing, provided that we select the correct formats. Let me show you one more, which is a very good example, and it's very good visual as well. Now let's say I'm not so sure that every, as I said earlier, for every widget there is a prerequisite that you need to add minimum number of attributes and metrics, correct? But how should I remember which widget needs how many objects? You don't have to remember. Even if you don't add it, the MicroStrategy will not display that visual and says, okay, your visual does not have this many number of objects, and that's the reason we cannot display in the required format. So this is generally what I do. I don't remember anything as such. I just, sometimes if I don't know, I add some random number of objects. If that works, that's okay. If it doesn't work, MicroStrategy helps me back. Now let's see if I, for this particular visual, I change it to some other format. Let's say graph metrics. Okay, I'm going to save this. And if I go back and refresh my dashboard, Okay, now this is something, okay, it worked for some reason, but let me do one thing. Sorry, I'm going to change it to some other thing. I want to show that error. Let's say bubble grid. Okay, so as you can see, my dashboard didn't throw me an error. If you go to the other layouts, it's still showing me the data. It's only that particular widget which is not showing me the data, and says if you want to display the data for this widget, you at least need 2 attributes and 2 metrics anywhere. So as you can see, you need exactly 2 attributes and you need 2 metrics. So this is the requirement that you need to have to ensure that your displays the data in that particular format. So we have selected a bubble chart, and it says if you add 2 attributes and 2 metrics, it will show me the data. So let's do that. And that's the reason I said you don't even have to remember. This is what it's going to help us, right? So I have a region, and along the region, let's say if I just add a call center, okay, and along with revenue, let's say if I add a profit, okay, I'm going to save this. All right, and if I go ahead and refresh my dashboard, and as you can see over here, it has displayed in my bubble grid format. Okay, so this is how it made sure that, you know, when we didn't add the minimum number of objects, it throwed me an error. Okay, and as soon as we like, okay, whatever the suggestion that MicroStrategy provided, okay, you at least need 2 attributes and metrics, and when we added, it worked perfectly fine. And now this is just that if the format and the sizing, you can just ensure it. But yeah, we're just trying to understand, you don't have to remember. That's the point, where you don't have to remember. MicroStrategy will certainly help you out. Now let me show you one more widget. Okay, let's say waterfall. Okay, for the regions and revenue. Okay, and I want to display this in a waterfall format. Okay, I'll go to the properties. Instead of bubble grid, I can change it to a waterfall as well. Save. So there are a lot of widgets that have been offered by MicroStrategy, and you can definitely play around with that and, you know, come back in case you have any question anytime. So now we have changed that to a waterfall. We added the minimum required number of objects that I feel, and as you can see, a perfect waterfall widget has been displayed. So this is also one thing which makes this kind of a dashboards more kind of a visually appealing. So it's not always that this dashboards will show you in a grid or a graph format. You can have more kind of a visuals by making the use of widgets. A widgets is the core thing that you need to know when you're creating such kind of a dashboards. And trust me, we have been using this a lot. And yeah, it depends upon what kind of user basis, you know, the finance users might not like this formats, but definitely the supply chains client would definitely love this kind of visuals. I'll take a pause over here. There are small things that we, or just one minor thing that I want to discuss on the dashboard, but before we do that, any questions so far?
Danish, right now I can see, right, you are making a change to development tool and then we are seeing on this web browser. But suppose
Correct.
I ran report on the web browser, so I will know what exactly the best of this particular report, how, where I can see.
Can you repeat your question? Sorry, I missed that.
Okay. Right now we are changing a developer tool, right? In a development tool, we are
Correct.
changing the report and we are watching on the web, right? But suppose I ran report randomly on the web only, then how I will know the what is the underlying report actually it's linked?
No,
Which
but you can
report?
always see, as a developer, you can still edit from here. Now, personally, I don't like it to edit from web, but you can do it. So if you go to the editable mode, or you can just click on edit, this report will be open in a design. the one that you simply see on the desktop. Okay, so you can see a data set objects, you can see a grid, and you can just right click over here and go to the properties and formatting. Okay, so if you go to the properties and formatting, okay, you have a widget over here, and over here also you can select any widget that you want. They have been categorized over here, you can select from here as well. But personally, I don't like to do anything editing from the web, but in case you want to do it, definitely if you're comfortable, you can also do it from web as well. I generally do the changes in desktop and I run it from the web, but if you're comfortable doing it from the web, that works fine as well. So all the
Okay.
widgets are available over here. If you go over here, just go to the widgets, every widgets are available over here.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Any other question on widgets or any other things that we have discussed so far? No, perfect. The one small thing that I also wanted to discuss is, now we have seen everything. Like, we can see we can add a different layouts, text boxes, grid graphs, widgets, links, selectors. Now the other thing that I want to discuss is I want to add some, there are some dynamic text fields that you can add, and I think you should know as well. Okay, we call it as auto text. The auto text are nothing but it reads the session information or your dashboard information and display as a text boxes. Now let's say over here I want to display who is the user running the report. So just go to the insert and there is something called as auto text. Okay, and under this I can display the current user. So you can see a text box has been added. So this will display me the current username. Whoever the user is running the dashboard, it will be displayed over here. Similarly, let's say I will add few more text fields. Let's say I want to add my current date and time. Current date and time. I can do that as well. So this current date and time is not your system date. It will go to the your iServer and the web server machine, iServer machine basically, and it will give the date and time from there. So let's see what happens. I'll save this. If I just go and refresh my dashboard. Okay, I go to the layout file. Okay, as I go to the layout file, you can see. So I have logged in as an administrator. So it is displaying as an administrator. This is a current time, like, the iServer is on IST zone. So it displays the current time over here. So, certain small things, but definitely very effectively. One last thing that I want to discuss, let me add one more before we conclude the dashboard. Now, if you remember, we had discussed something called as thresholds when we created the report. Similar concept lies over here as well, but I want to display a kind of a conditional formatting, show and hide. I created two sections, and based on certain criteria, either it will display the first section or the second section. Let's try to do that. Okay, now let's say this is my entire body page. I will split this or insert a section below. Okay, now if you look over here, there is a section that gets added. There is a line, you can see a clear line. I will just make the width, height smaller, so at least we can compare it. Okay, so I'm just going to see, I don't need a scroll bar. I'll just make it a very small width over here, small height, sorry. Okay, and I will just add it somewhere here. Okay, now we added a two section, the first section and the second section. Let's just make sure, let's make it clear that I have two sections. So I'll insert a text boxes. This is my section 1. Okay, and similarly I'll insert one more text box and add it over here, and I will call this as my section 2. Okay, simple. Okay, in section 1, let's say I inserted a grid. Okay, in section 1 I inserted this grid, and I just added a region maybe, or let's say make it simple. Let make it as category. We'll keep it as simple. I will add a category and revenue. Okay, in the below section I will just add a revenue, the summation value. I can directly add the metric as well. Okay, to just sum it up and display the numbers. Okay, now this is what we have done. In the above section, in case you don't have any question, can you just be on mute? Okay, all right. So now we have created these two sections. In the first section I have a grade, in the second section I have a number. What I will do is I will add this category as a selector. Right click and there is an option called as add to grouping. So when I say grouping, it's just a page by. If you remember, there's a page by, that concept that we have used. Same thing over here. The category just got it added as a grouping or as a page by. Now my requirement is, if I select category electronics from that grouping or from that page by, my below section has to be displayed. And if I select anything else apart from electronics, my above section has to be displayed. Show and hide. You can easily do this. So I have two sections over here, and I want to conditionally show and hide either of the section depending upon the condition which gets fulfilled. So what you have to do is, now let's take an example. Electronics means the below section has to be displayed. Non-electronics, the above section has to be displayed. So take it other ways. What should be my hiding condition? If I select electronics, my above section has to be hidden so that below section gets displayed. Right click on the top section. I'll go to the conditional formatting. And over here, first of all, I'm just going to say new and make this condition. If my region, or if my category, sorry, if my category is electronics, I'll select that electronics. Then what should I do? Instead of format, I'll just say hide object. So the above section will be hidden as and when I select category electronics. I will say okay. Where is my okay? One second, let me just. Okay, so I'll just click on okay. Now I go to the below section, right click, conditional formatting. I will add the condition. It says whenever category not electronics, not, okay. So if I select any other, the below section has to be hidden. Perfect. So if my category is electronics, above section will be hidden, which means my below section will be displayed. And the vice versa. If I select anything else, the below section will be hidden, which means above section will be displayed. And I want this page by element to not display all. I will just make it as single element, not all selection, single elements. I'll say okay. I'm going to save this. And if I go and refresh my dashboard now, okay, if I go to the layout 6, so now if I see category books, the first section has been displayed. If I even select music, still the first section has been displayed. But if I select electronics, you can see the second section has been displayed. So this dashboard also allows you to conditionally show and hide a certain section. So now, just simple example, okay? Now let's say I want all the America's region user. Okay, when they select an America, it should have a dashboard with a different formatting. Similarly, for the APAC user, same dashboard but a different formatting. I'll create two sections exactly the same. The first section will have some other formats as compared to the second section. Conditionally show and hide. So if the region they select Americas, something good dashboard with some good display. Similarly for the APAC users, when they select the region APAC, different format, same data but different format. I'm just giving some practical scenarios which I have came across, so that in case you want to utilize within your project, even that's going to be helpful. This is what you can do it from the report service documents and dashboard standpoint. And this is all that I had to cover as a report service documents and dashboard. And yeah, this is also something we have just concluded our entire development training. I will also cross check if anything has been missed out, but I'm quite sure that whatever we had it in the training content, we have covered each and every topic. I will take a pause over here, but and I will also suggest you guys can try it out, do all your hands-ons. In case you have any questions, definitely we're going to be there for the admin training as well. But in case you have any questions, you're stuck with something, feel free to drop me an email. We can get into a quick call, or we have a regular calls as well where we can discuss it further. But before that, any question, any queries that you guys have as of now?
Can you go to the developer tool?
Sorry?
Developer tool, like from where we created, right?
Developer tool, okay.
That particular report, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
you place a category under, so it's kind
Grouping.
of selector or
It's a page by, if you remember, we selected a page by when we were discussing on subtotals. So it's not a selector. It's just that your entire dashboard displays. It's a kind of a, I would not say slicer, but it's just a page selection kind of thing. So the entire dashboard just got breakdown into multiple pages, and whatever category element that you see corresponding to that, the information has been displayed. Similar to page by of a report, I would say. But within that, within this, you can have your the slicers or the selectors that we had discussed, the 4 type of slicers.
okay. And right section in a section 2, right? We just kept one attribute,
One
right?
metric.
Yeah,
It's a
one
metric.
yeah. So, like how it's get calculated behind the scene, like if it's a only
Sum
metric
of
that
revenue. It's just a sum of revenue. Select sum of revenue, and I selected electronics, so it's just displaying the revenue number for electronics. So I just added as a text field, or dynamic text field we call it as. So it evaluated the metric number and displayed as a text box.
okay at the category level, right?
Yeah, at a category, and that is only for electronics because we had a show and hide, right? So the electronic is something XYZ number. Based on that, the number gets. So if you go back, and
So
when I
like if
selected
there
the
are two attributes, right, in category and some
so based on
year,
that, the numbers will be calculated.
based on that number will get calculated, right?
Yes. So if you have a year as well, so for whatever category you select, whatever year you select, based on that, your numbers will be calculated and accordingly it will be displayed over here. So if I just add a year as well in the grouping section, let's say, okay, if I save this, okay, and if I refresh my dashboard, one second. Okay. Okay, so now you can see 2014, the number just came down to 6 million. Earlier it was 24 million, right? If I select 2015, 8.02 million. And if I select all the years, I just got breakdown, that's okay. But I'll just select one. I just generally keep it as one. So 8.02. If I keep it as 2016, 10.34 million. So it depending upon whatever selection that you do, accordingly the numbers will be calculated.
Okay.
Right? Any other question, please?
And I know whether it's related to our syllabus or not, but like if the same dashboard, right? If we want to see a mobile, right, or
Yeah.
app or something like that, then do we have to take some more something? Need to take more precaution or
The
while considering?
precaution, yeah. See, there are certain things that you need to take care. First of all, your page height and size. So now, depending upon what mobile device that you're seeing, right? If it's an iPad, so you just have to select the corresponding height and width. So every dashboard has a page size. Okay, so if you come over here, I know there is a format. One second, file and page setup. Okay, if you go to the page setup, okay, and you can just make sure that correct this thing. You want to see it in a portrait mode or a landscape, height and width. So this is something you might have to adjust. Okay, and there are other properties that you need to just take care of. So you can use the same dashboard a bit of minor formatting that you might to do it, ensuring that it fits within your mobile device, whatever you're using, iPad, Android, or anything else, and it definitely works. But it's recommended that you maintain as a separate version, the one that you want to see it in your mobile against what you want to see it in the web.
Right, because the formatting will be
Yes,
different, right?
the formatting, and there are certain limitations. Some widgets will work only in flash mode in the web, and there are other widgets which might only work in the mobile devices. Okay, so those are things. So the one that you see in the, let's say, I'm just giving an example. Let's say the widget cylinder is not supported in mobile. So when you run that, it might show you a simple bar chart over there. So that kind of thing, like, when you run it from the web, the cylinder chart works, the cylinder widget will work, but that might not work in the mobile because that is not supportable within the tool. So you make that changes and you make it more kind of whatever it is compatible for the mobile devices, and accordingly you can definitely display it.
Okay. And one more, like
Mhm.
when we flash mode, right? It's a is there is any difference? Like normally we ran on a web, right? So do we
Uh-huh.
need flash mode for that as well?
Flash is depreciated in the higher version, you might not even see it. Okay, but Flash is something, there are certain visuals which only works on Flash mode, so that's the reason. The more, I think, the by default we always keep it as interactive mode. Okay, or a presentation mode we call it as nowadays. Flash modes were,
Mm-hmm.
like, when it was in earlier 9.x version and the early 10.x version, there are certain visuals which are supported only by Flash, and that's the reason it is called as Flash. But it's preferable that you keep it as presentation mode, which is by default in the latest versions.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it. Thanks.
No problem. All right, guys, so thank you so much. So this is all that we had to cover from the development and architect. Next week onwards, we're going to start with the admin module. So that's going to run for 3 to 4 sessions where we're going to cover each and every admin topic, and similarly, like, it's everything is going to be practical implementation. All right, so by this we'll just stop over here for the day. Thank you so much, and we will connect next week. Yes, please.
Ma'am, I just downloaded all those software,
Okay,
so can we
sure,
have
sure, I'll make you the present. Yeah, I'll make you the presenter. Yeah, so this is your desktop, right?
here?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, so just run it. There would be one exe file. Desktop.exe, yeah, that one. Just double click. Yeah, so you can just say install, and that's it. So once you click on install, your process has started, and once it is finished, you're good to use. So
Okay.
it might take few minutes, but there is no components that you have to select from here. And for the Vitara charts, you don't have to do anything. You have to keep it in zip format. Don't unzip it. So once you open the desktop, okay, on the right hand side bottom below the visuals, you will see a plus icon. Click on that plus icon, and it will
Mhm.
ask you to what is the zip file that you need to select. So you select this Vitara charts.zip file, and all around 20-30 visuals will be added.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is, you can just, yeah, I mean, like, it just says reboot. So if you click on reboot, your machine will be rebooted. Don't do it now. You can do it after the call. Hello. Yeah, I think the machine just got it started rebooted. Okay, so I think, guys, we can just stop over here. Thank you so much. And yeah, as I said, we will just connect next week and continue with the start with the admin module. All right. Um, Thank you, everyone. Uh, am I audible to you guys? I'm sorry. I just want to make sure. Hello? Hello? All right, I think we are all good.